So, I thought we were done with our Traxxas Rustler 4x4 VXL project, but Traxxas has gone and released a bunch of new option parts for it that I don't have on my truck. And since you guys really like that series, I've decided to extend it to show you these new parts. We're going to start off with the suspension components. Let's head over to the workbench. I'm going to show you these parts up close and talk to you about why you might want to add them to your Rustler 4x4. Since the last time you've seen the Rustler 4x4 project, I have put a lot of packs through it, and the truck has just been so much fun. There's actually a bunch of holes in the body from, just scraping on the ground and stuff. The roof skid is pretty beat up. The spoiler on it is pretty beat up as well. And the only thing I've broken so far is one of the new arms. And I can't say it broke because the pin tore through the arm. So these are nice flexible arms. I think it did a really good job. I mean, when it broke, it was just, flying through the air. I hit a massive jump with it. And so, I could understand why it broke. The landing was horrific. But anyway, the truck has been strong and a lot of fun. But it's time to get into these new parts and, show you guys what else is available for the truck. So I am going to show you guys today the new turnbuckles for the truck. Now, it does have really nice steel turnbuckles on there. And to be honest with you, I don't know if I would change them. They do a great job. They're pretty strong. However, customizing your truck is all part of the hobby, and these are actually some really good options if you do want to go in and swap out the tie rods on your vehicle. So these are aluminum, actually. They're 70-75 aluminum. So it's not the cheaper 60-61 aluminum. This is the good quality aluminum. And it actually says on the back that they're stronger than titanium. And so I took a look at these, and they actually have steel set screws in there for the thread. Some of the older Traxxas aluminum tie rods, they were fully threaded aluminum, and I did actually break one of those. They're really strong. But in my time in RC, I put them on a bunch of vehicles, and I only broke one. So these, I think, are going to be even stronger with that steel screw in there that acts as the threads for this. Now, they are adjustable. As you can see, these are nicely anodized blue. They are available in Traxxas' different colors. So if you built yours with something besides blue, you could go and get the color to match your particular truck. But they have the nice heavy-duty rod ends on there, the steel pivot balls, and as you can see, I've got 3 packages here. That's because they come preset from the factory to the lengths that you're going to need where you're going to replace it. So, we've got the upper front rods, we've got the steering rods, and the rods for the back of the vehicle as well. So you can go get those, all in one shot, one at a time, whatever works for you. The other parts I got for it are the shock towers. And again, these are 70-75 aluminum. So they're going to be nice, lightweight, and strong. And I got to tell you, the anodizing on these are really, really nice. And these kits give you all the hardware that you're going to need to install them as well. So they've actually got these plastic pieces in here. Those are for the body mounts for both the front and rear. So the body will clip right into the stock body. They give you these posts for the suspension. And then hidden behind this little card right here is all the hardware that you're going to need. But these look really nice. And then while I was talking to you guys, I figured, you know what, I'm going to show you the new tool kit that they have. This is the 13-piece metric tool set that they recently came out with. I did do a review on their tools before. I will link to that up above, but this set is pretty much going to give you everything that you need to work on this vehicle. So that's what I'm going to use to work on the truck today. And just to throw it out there, they do have some new handles as well that I got from Traxxas. They've got a fully black handle. Actually, it's a really dark gray handle, which fits their bits. And then a standard replacement handle, I believe, and a larger handle. So if you got some larger meat mitts, you could go grab this and make wrenching on your vehicle a little bit more comfortable for yourself. All right, so now I'm going to go prep the workbench, and we're going to start off by removing the stock shock towers and installing these aluminum ones. All right, I'm all set up to start swapping out some of the parts here, and I'm going to start off on the front end of the vehicle, and we got to get this shock tower off here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start by removing the upper shock screws on both sides, and then since I'm going to be replacing the tie rods as well, I'm going to go remove the outer screws for those, and then finally the 4 screws that secure the shock tower to the bulkhead. Okay, I pulled all the screws out, and now the shock tower should just slide out just like that. Now, if you're just replacing the shock tower by itself, you're going to remove the 2 inner screws. You're going to leave your tie rods behind. As I said, I'm replacing the tie rods as well, so that's why I pulled it out like this. And if you're just replacing the tie rods, you're just obviously going to remove the 2 outer screws on the outside. All right, I'm going to set that aside, and now it's time to start prepping the front shock tower. Pretty nice looking shock tower. I will say that they did a nice work on the machine work on it, and the anodizing is really nice too. Now it does have a plastic body mount support. This is what keys into the body, and that just slips right on here. And then I think there's hardware. So all the hardware you need is right here in the bag. There's an odd number of screws because there's just a single screw that holds that on. So that's pretty easy to locate. It's the only one without blue Loctite on it. That's what's really nice about some of this Traxxas stuff. They go and put Loctite on the parts that, you know, are going to vibrate loose, so I don't have to go and do that. So I'll just find the right screw. There it is, the only one, and I will go and screw it into the shock tower. So that body mount's in place. Next up is installing the shock post here, and the screws are of course provided as well. That is going to be the shorter screw in the bag, and just got to place it in the center hole. That's where it was on the old shock mount, and just use the old shock mount as kind of a guide if you need to know which side the posts need to be on, which side the flare needs to be on for the body mount. That'll make things a little bit easier, but I'm just going to take my Traxxas 2mm hex driver here, start threading that in, make sure you don't cross thread anything. And then what I found out is really nice, this 7mm driver that comes with the Traxxas kit fits nicely over the shock mount, and I'm going to use one of those extra handles that I have so I can go and tighten everything down. I've got the shock posts on there now. That is one nice looking tower. Next up is installing the turnbuckles. Now before you just go slap these on, you'll want to notice that there is a little groove in the turnbuckle, and that just indicates the direction. So when you go put the turnbuckles on the vehicle, you want to make sure that little notch faces one side of the vehicle for all of the tie rods. So what I'm going to do here is just double check, see where it was on the old turnbuckle, and I'll basically just put them on in the same direction to make sure that, you know, everything falls together nicely. Now they do give you the screws that you're going to need. Again, they've got the Loctite on there. So basically just see where they were placed on the old tower. That's the best way to start your setup, and then screw them into place. Now just a little side note, the larger flange faces the outside. That basically just prevents the plastic rod end from popping off of it, and just go screw these back into place. The shock tower is together, the turnbuckles are installed, and basically you just got to go drop it back in the reverse order that you took the stock shock tower out. So I'm just going to use the factory hardware and bolt everything back up. I really love the look of that new shock tower. It looks very strong as well, and these new tie rods are really bulky. Everything came out great. Now it's time to turn our attention to the rear, and pretty much it's the same disassembly steps as the front, so it's nice and easy to do. I'm not going to show you all of that again. It'd be too repetitive. The only difference here is when we go to install this rear shock tower, it does go in a certain way, so when I get to that point, I'll stop and show you how it goes. When I started removing the rear tower, I did find it was a little bit easier to remove the wheelie bar out back. That was just 2 additional screws, but right after that, the rear tower popped right out, and I'm ready to install the new rear tower. I've already gone ahead. I've installed my tie rods in there. Again, the screws with the Loctite on them secure the turnbuckles to the tower. Same with the posts, the screws with the thread lock secure those posts, and then the 2 screws that don't have any thread lock on it secure the plastic body mount piece. Now, it is directional. There's actually a little F that stands for front, so that's going to face the front, so I'll just slide this in, and now I'll just go ahead and reinstall all the factory hardware to secure the rear tower and the turnbuckles. That rear tower looks just as good as the front tower, and these tie rods out back here look awesome as well. Now, the only thing we have left to swap out are the steering turnbuckles, and these are really easy to do. Just have to remove the 2 screws that secure the buckle to the steering knuckles and to the cranks, and of course just swap it out. Now when you do that, just remember, make sure that flange is up on the outside of the turnbuckle out here, and then make sure you watch where your notch is to make sure that they line up with all the other notches on the tie rod. So when you're adjusting tow or camber, it just makes life a lot easier. All right, gotta go swap those out now. Well, that took about 2 minutes to swap out the steering turnbuckles, and I gotta tell you, the parts on here look awesome. They definitely give the truck a custom look, but more importantly, I think these parts are a lot stronger. You know, if you're breaking shock towers, I would say definitely give these a try. If you're bending turnbuckles, give these a try. They look really bulky. All right, now, I just wanted to point out that they do give you a turnbuckle wrench with the kit, so if you want to go and adjust your toe or your camber, use this wrench to do it. All right, the other thing I thought of is will these shock towers make it a little bit easier to put the body on? I know some of you probably have that question. What I found is if you flare the body out like this and just kind of set it down in the front, push down a little bit, it seems to slide right in. And there, I mean, to me, it seems a little bit easier. Maybe they revised it a little bit. Maybe it's just me being used to it by now, but that seemed to go in a lot better. All right, I'm not going to put the tires on because I have some more parts for this. Yes, I'm going to go and install some of the drivetrain parts that Traxxas has to offer. So that's going to be an additional video to our series. So make sure you hit the subscribe button and the notifications bell. And if you have any questions about the parts I installed today, please throw it in the comments section below. I'll do my best to get to it. And of course, we'll see you back here for the next part of the series.